Hey guys, so welcome back to the next one. This one's going to be all about entry type 2. So as we talked about, from now on pretty much we're going to be talking about the entry models, right? We've talked about the first one, very very simple. It's all just going to be a liquidity sweep. We wait for our elite strategy confirmation, which is the engulf candle upwards on the 5 minute. We enter, stop loss below the lows, and then we push upwards. And we get this time and time again. Possibly one of the most entries that we do take. Then we've got entry type 2. This one can be a bit more complicated. It definitely takes a lot more sort of practice because you could be confused by it. But the main thing that I did say is this: always look for the trend. Rule number one: the trend is the most important thing. And that's what's going to help us here because there's going to be times where it could look like it's selling, even though it's going to be pushing upwards. But looking at the trend, looking at the high time frame, is going to help us with all of that. So just as a little explanation for this one obviously can be a bit harder to determine at times because often if liquidity has not, but it happens often if liquidity has not been taken. So what do I mean by that? By that, I pretty much mean the highs of Asia range or the lows of Asia range have not been taken at all. It's still consolidating, it's still within this kind of range right here. For this, we do need the trend to look as good as possible. Obviously in this example, we want it to look good to the upside, clearer areas to move towards to the upside rather than the downside, and a very clear and obvious engulfing candle up. It needs to be aggressive and shown it wants to move upwards. So you can kind of get the gist of this. We want to push upwards. All we need now is just an engulfed candle up, and then obviously our bias, of course, has to be to move to some kind of imbalance on the high time frame. So just looking at an example, exactly like we did last time, let's look at this. Entry type 2 within Asian range. So in this example, as you can see, what's actually been happening is we are pretty much looking at the trend and the bias. What are we looking at in this example? We're pretty much just moving to the downside. So we know we're trending bearish. So we're only going to be looking for sells. The best thing would be if, for example, we had got a liquidity sweep of the highs and then price continues down. But for this day and this scenario, we didn't get that at all. In terms of where we could potentially actually aim for, we've got the sell side liquidity on the higher time frame here. And what is the most likely entry model type? We still won't know for sure until it happens here. So let's get into a bit more of the details. Obviously, again, I'm going to be showing you the live charts as well to actually show this trade as an example. But what we wait for is we patiently wait for price to do its thing. We wait for it to move aggressively in a certain direction, and then we look for an engulf candle. In this scenario, as you can see, it stayed within the Asian range. Then as soon as it started to break downwards, boom, engulf candle down, elite strategy confirmation done right there. And that is exactly what we enter off. Enter the market with a market execution, stop loss below above the highs that we engulfed, and then take profit at a maximum point. In this scenario, we looked at a high time frame imbalance, and that is where prices move towards. Just to quickly explain, make sure you always go to break even. So let's go back to this step right here before we get to the final step. Let's go into trader view and just find this. Let's just find this example. Here it is. Is it this one? Let me just quickly find it. Okay, so it doesn't seem that I even have it. Oh, here it is. There we go. Cool. So EU right here, as you can see, everything stayed within the Asian range. We've got sell side liquidity here. We've got an imbalance here, and then we've also got another level of sell side liquidity. So that's the maximum point that I was aiming for, right? We know that we're in this downtrend, as you can see, price just pushing down, down, down. And how did we actually enter off this? What would have been perfect is if we got entry type 1, it pushes up, takes liquidity and drops, because then it's more likely to do that. But still, when we see something as aggressive as this, price pushed up, as you can see, it's past 8 o'clock as well. This is the 8 o'clock candle. It pushed up a bit, stayed within Asian range still. This candle, this engulfed candle right here, was the elite strategy confirmation. You enter right there, stop loss above the previous candle that it did engulf. And then obviously we take our profits at certain areas. and this one ran to a 1.4. Yeah, pretty much a 1 to 4 eventually. And then obviously, as you can see, one thing that I do want to note, obviously, this is on the low time frames. Be happy with taking profits by the end of the day, because you could very easily just do something like this and just reverse the next day. Now, in terms of how we manage the position, make sure to go break even once we get a reason to think that price might actually reverse back to our entry. For me, once I broke past the low and engulf candle further downwards, that's when I started to go break even. So just to go back to it, at what point did I go break even? It would have been here. I'm not at break even yet, because price could easily run back to this order block and continue downwards again. It's the next candle. There we go. As soon as we got this, I know for sure now, this area is the new supply zone. This area is the new order block that should be respected. So if price does pull back, it should only pull back there. If it pullbacks further, this trade is probably going to fail. But it should only pull back there, and then it continues downwards. Again, what happened? Price continued down even further, and there we go, straight to take profit. Guys, this happens over and over and over again. We're going to go through some of the back tests as well, but you'll see this time and time again. So yeah, it's very simple as that in terms of take profits. One of the sell side liquidities, and then another one as well. So that's going to be it for entry model type 2. So let's go back to it quickly. This is the type of thing that you're going to be looking for. So please save this, potentially even print it as well. Keep it with you when you are trading at the same time as well. Look at this and obviously apply it all. So guys, take care, and I'll see you all in the next entry model.